I want him to say to you the same thing that I said to my wife when we got married, which is, I vow to always date my wife.
Have you noticed how the royal family has looked unusually tense recently? For weeks, royal watchers across the UK have been trying to understand what is really happening behind palace walls. Public appearances became shorter. Smiles looked forced. Official statements sounded carefully controlled. And then suddenly, everything changed after reports emerged that a royal doctor had finally spoken. Now, people everywhere are asking the same question. What is the palace not telling the public? Because when it comes to the royal family, silence usually means something serious is happening behind the scenes. And according to growing speculation surrounding the latest royal health discussions, even senior palace insiders were reportedly caught off guard by how quickly concerns started spreading. Tonight, we're breaking down the royal situation that has the internet exploding, why tensions inside the palace may be rising, and why many believe the story is far bigger than anyone expected. But before we continue, take a second to subscribe, because the next few minutes may completely change how you see the royal family right now. For decades, the British monarchy has operated on one powerful principle: control the image at all costs. Every appearance is planned. Every statement is reviewed. Every detail is carefully managed before the public ever sees it. That level of control is one reason the institution has survived crisis after crisis over generations. But recently, something unusual started happening. Royal followers began noticing subtle signs that something inside the palace felt different. Body language changed. Schedules shifted. Events were quietly adjusted. And online discussions exploded after multiple royal commentators started pointing out how carefully officials were avoiding direct answers surrounding growing health speculation connected to senior members of the family. At first, many people dismissed the rumors. The royal family has always faced conspiracy theories, exaggerated headlines, and non-stop media pressure. But this situation felt different because the questions did not disappear. Instead, they became louder. Then came the moment that pushed the story into overdrive. Reports surrounding comments linked to a royal medical figure suddenly triggered massive public attention online. Almost instantly, social media exploded with reactions. Royal supporters expressed concern. Critics demanded transparency. News channels began discussing whether the palace was losing control of the narrative. And once that happened, everything changed. Because now the conversation was no longer limited to royal gossip. People started debating trust. Some asked whether the public was being told the full story. Others defended the family, arguing that private medical matters should remain private no matter who is involved. But one thing became impossible to ignore. The pressure surrounding the palace was growing fast. And, historically, pressure is something the monarchy takes very seriously. The royal family understands perception better than almost any institution in the world. They know headlines shape public opinion. They know public emotion can spread globally within hours. And most importantly, they know uncertainty creates speculation. That may explain why every recent appearance has been analyzed so intensely. Every facial expression, every canceled event, every delayed statement. Millions of people have been trying to read between the lines. And that is exactly why the story has become so powerful online. Because mystery creates attention, especially when it involves one of the most famous families on Earth. What makes the situation even more fascinating is how divided public reaction has become. Some people believe the palace is simply trying to protect personal privacy during a difficult time. Others believe the controlled messaging itself is creating even more suspicion. And in the modern internet era, once people begin questioning official narratives, stories can spread at unbelievable speed. That is exactly what we're seeing now. Clips are going viral. Comment sections are exploding. Royal analysts are debating every new development. And audiences across the world are watching closely to see what happens next. But there's another reason the story is hitting so hard emotionally. For many people, the royal family represents stability and tradition. They are seen as symbols of continuity in a world that constantly changes. So, whenever uncertainty appears around senior royals, public reaction naturally becomes emotional. People feel connected to these figures even if they have never met them. That emotional connection is powerful. And right now, It is fueling massive interest across YouTube, social media, and global news coverage. Meanwhile, palace officials appear to be walking an extremely careful line. Say too little, and speculation grows. Say too much, and headlines become even more intense. That balance is incredibly difficult to maintain once global attention reaches this level, especially today when every small moment instantly becomes international discussion. And perhaps that is why the situation feels so different from ordinary royal headlines. This no longer feels like simple celebrity gossip. It feels like the public is trying to uncover a story hidden beneath carefully managed appearances. Whether those suspicions are justified or not, the impact is already happening in real time. Public curiosity has reached another level. Now many viewers are asking what happens next. Will the palace address growing speculation directly? Will future public appearances calm concerns? Or will silence continue fueling even bigger theories online? At this point, nobody outside the inner royal circle truly knows. But one thing is certain: the world is watching more closely than ever. And whenever the royal family faces moments of uncertainty, global attention becomes impossible to stop, because people are not just watching a family. They are watching an institution that has symbolized power, tradition, and secrecy for generations. And right now, that institution appears to be under intense public pressure once again. The next few weeks could become extremely important. Every appearance will be analyzed. Every statement will be examined. Every reaction will be discussed worldwide. And until clearer answers emerge, speculation surrounding the palace will likely continue growing, which raises the biggest question of all. Is this simply another temporary royal controversy, or the beginning of something much bigger behind palace doors? Only time will tell. As the pressure continues building, royal experts are now warning that the palace may be facing one of its most difficult communication challenges in years. Because in the modern world, silence no longer controls a story. The internet does. And once millions of people begin connecting small details together, even ordinary moments can suddenly turn into worldwide headlines. That is exactly what appears to be happening now. Over the past few days, viewers online have started revisiting older royal appearances, comparing timelines, analyzing interviews, and discussing moments that previously seemed unimportant. Some believe the palace has been preparing the public slowly. Others think officials were hoping attention would fade naturally before the situation grew larger. But instead of fading away, interest exploded, especially after major discussion channels and commentators began questioning why recent royal messaging felt unusually cautious. That single shift changed public perception completely, because people tend to become more curious when they feel information is being carefully managed. And historically, the monarchy has always depended on maintaining calm public confidence. But confidence becomes harder to control once uncertainty enters the conversation. Even longtime royal supporters are now admitting that something about the situation feels different. Not necessarily dangerous, not necessarily catastrophic, but different enough to create growing concern. And concern spreads quickly when the subject involves globally recognized figures. Meanwhile, online reactions continue becoming more emotional. Some viewers are expressing sympathy and concern for the family. Others are frustrated by the lack of clarity. And some believe the palace itself may be underestimating how powerful social media speculation has become, because today, public narratives move faster than official statements ever can. One viral clip can shape millions of opinions overnight. One emotional headline can dominate global discussion within hours. And one unexpected revelation can completely change how the public views a situation. That possibility is exactly why this story continues gaining momentum. People feel like they are waiting for something bigger, a statement, an explanation, a clarification, anything that finally answers the growing number of questions surrounding the palace. But until that happens, speculation will continue filling the silence. And from the palace's perspective, that may be the most dangerous part of all, because once speculation becomes stronger than official communication, controlling public perception becomes nearly impossible. Royal historians often point out that the monarchy survives by maintaining trust, stability, and carefully managed public confidence. Whenever those three things appear shaken, even slightly, global attention intensifies immediately. And right now, Many believe the palace is trying to prevent exactly that scenario. What makes this even more intense is the emotional weight attached to royal health stories. Unlike political scandals or celebrity controversies, health-related royal headlines create a very personal reaction among the public. People begin imagining worst-case scenarios. Media coverage becomes more dramatic. Every public appearance suddenly carries deeper meaning. That emotional atmosphere is what we are witnessing now. Even small details are becoming major discussion points online. A facial expression becomes a headline. A canceled appearance becomes a theory. A delayed update becomes international speculation. And because the royal family represents continuity for so many people, uncertainty naturally creates anxiety across audiences worldwide. Some royal commentators now believe the palace may eventually be forced to address public concern more directly if speculation continues reaching this level. Others argue the monarchy will remain committed to privacy, no matter how intense public pressure becomes. Both possibilities carry risks. If officials remain silent, rumors may continue growing. If they speak too openly, headlines will become even more explosive. That is an impossible balance the palace appears to be facing right now. And behind all the headlines, one reality remains impossible to ignore. The world has become emotionally invested in this story. Millions of viewers are checking for updates daily. Videos discussing the situation are generating enormous attention. Comment sections are flooded with theories, concern, and debate, and every new royal appearance instantly becomes global news. That level of attention does not happen unless people sense that something important may be unfolding. Whether the current speculation ultimately proves accurate or exaggerated, the impact on public conversation is already undeniable. The palace is once again at the center of worldwide scrutiny. And history has shown that once royal pressure reaches this level, unexpected developments often follow. So now the question becomes, what happens if even more information starts emerging? Could the palace regain control of the narrative? Or are we watching the beginning of a much larger royal crisis slowly unfolding in front of the world? At this stage, nobody can answer that with certainty. But one thing is clear. This story is far from over, and the next update could change everything. As global attention continues intensifying, many people are beginning to ask whether the palace was ever truly prepared for this level of public reaction, because what started as quiet concern has now evolved into non-stop worldwide discussion. And the longer uncertainty continues, the more difficult it becomes for officials to calm speculation. Behind the scenes, royal communication teams are believed to monitor public response extremely closely. Every headline matters. Every public reaction matters. Every shift in public emotion matters. That is because the modern monarchy no longer survives on tradition alone. It survives on public perception. And perception can change very quickly during moments of uncertainty, especially when millions of people feel they are not getting clear answers. Some analysts believe the palace hoped the situation would remain controlled through carefully limited appearances and minimal public discussion. But in today's digital world, that strategy no longer works as easily as it once did. The internet notices everything. A missing appearance, a delayed announcement, an emotional expression, even a few seconds of unusual body language can instantly become viral discussion across social media. And once public curiosity reaches critical mass, every attempt to reduce attention sometimes creates even more attention instead. That may be exactly what happened here. Because now, people are no longer simply reacting to headlines. They are actively searching for clues. Videos analyzing royal behavior are spreading rapidly online. Commentators are revisiting past statements. Entire communities are debating what the palace may or may not be preparing the public for. Whether those theories are accurate is almost secondary at this point. The real story is the scale of global fascination now surrounding the situation, and that fascination continues growing. What makes royal stories uniquely powerful is the emotional connection audiences feel toward the monarchy itself. For some people, the royal family represents history, identity, and national stability. For others, it represents mystery, privilege, and secrecy. But regardless of opinion, few institutions on earth attract this level of emotional attention. That is why every development becomes magnified. A single update becomes breaking news worldwide. And right now, Millions are waiting for exactly that. An update, a clarification, some kind of definitive reassurance from inside palace walls. But until then, uncertainty remains in control. And uncertainty is where the internet becomes most dangerous, because online speculation rarely stays small for long. As theories spread, emotions intensify. As emotions intensify, headlines become more dramatic. And as headlines become more dramatic, public pressure increases even further. It becomes a cycle that is incredibly difficult to stop once it reaches this level. That is why some royal observers now believe the palace faces a critical moment in how it handles the coming weeks. One wrong appearance, one poorly worded statement, one visible sign of tension, and the global reaction could become even bigger than it already is. At the same time, others believe the monarchy has survived countless crises before and will ultimately weather the situation as well. After all, the institution has endured scandals, controversies, family conflicts, and public criticism for generations. But even supporters admit the media environment today is completely different from the past. Information spreads instantly, rumors spread faster, and public patience disappears quickly when major questions remain unanswered. That reality has transformed even ordinary royal situations into massive international events. And perhaps that explains why this particular story feels so emotionally charged. People sense uncertainty, they sense tension, and they sense that something important may still be unfolding behind the scenes. Whether that feeling proves true or not, the emotional momentum is already unstoppable. The palace now finds itself under enormous global scrutiny once again. And with every passing day, curiosity continues rising. So the biggest question now is no longer whether people are paying attention. They are. The real question is, what happens when the palace finally decides to speak again? Because when that moment comes, the entire world will be listening. And depending on what is said next, this story could either calm down completely or explode into something even bigger than anyone imagined. Until then, the speculation continues, the pressure continues, and the mystery surrounding the palace remains very much alive. So for now, the world waits, waiting for answers, waiting for clarity, waiting for the moment the palace finally decides to break its silence completely. Because whether people support the royal family or criticize it, one thing has become impossible to deny. Global attention is now locked onto this story, and the longer uncertainty continues, the more intense public curiosity becomes. Right now, millions of people across the world are analyzing every royal appearance, every statement, and every small detail, searching for signs of what may happen next. Some believe the situation is being exaggerated online. Others believe the public still has not heard the full story. But until clearer answers arrive, speculation will continue growing. And history has shown that when pressure builds around the monarchy, unexpected developments can happen very quickly. That is exactly why this story has captured worldwide attention. Because people feel like they are watching something unfold in real time. Something bigger than ordinary headlines. Something the palace may still be trying to manage behind closed doors. Now the only question is, what happens next? Will the palace finally calm public concern? Or are we only seeing the beginning of a much larger royal situation? The next update could change everything. And if it does, you can be sure the entire world will be watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and stay tuned, because this royal story may be far from over.